Hello everyone and welcome to our tutorial. This can be a short tutorial on how to make a lighting showreel or to get one started. So I've Adobe Premiere open here, so I'm going to import some media. I'm going to import a piece of audio, so that'll open for me. I'll show you where I got that in a minute. I'm going to import, I have a little folder here called lighting reel, and I've got 3 images and I'm going to import them. So you'd normally have like a bin here, and we'd call this stills, and you might have a separate bin for video, and then we will take our images here and we'll put them into our stills bin, and that one, just to organize ourselves. So we'll double click on this and we'll load it up here. Now this image we took, I think it's a JPEG, but I've converted it in Photoshop into a JPEG from a DNG file. So I've got this one open and this one. These are both RAW files, so I've just saved them as JPEGs. And how I do that is when I go File Open and I open this file, I go File Save As, and select JPEG as the option, and it'll save it. But just before we go anywhere, so we're just going to have a quick look at this file here. So I'm going to go Image, Image Size, and it's going to tell me that this is 6000 by 3000 because this is a DNG. This was originally taken on the 6K camera that we used, the Blackmagic. So this is a very big image. So if I if I drag this image onto my timeline here, so let's just do that. It's going to show me that, and then when I come over here to my timeline, if I scrub along, will it show me my resolution? So that is the information. That is the resolution of my timeline. So my timeline is now a 6K timeline, and I do not want the 6K timeline. So I'm going to cut that. I don't want that. So I'm going to create a new sequence, a new timeline. And I'm gonna pick one of these presets. So the ARRI presets are pretty good. So it's 1920 by 1080. It's 16:9, so it's the right aspect ratio. It's at 24 frames a second. It's fine, and 48 kilohertz audio. So this is all good. So this is not a bad preset for us to select. We could make our own if we wanted. We can go into our settings here. So we could say we want. We can pick any of the setups that we want. So if you're primarily using the Panasonic video camera, you would use AVC HD 1080p square pixel, and then we would say our frame rate was 25, which is what we shot on. And then I can just hit OK. We'll give the sequence a name. So we'll call this L reel for lighting reel, and hit OK. So now I've got my sequence, I've got my timeline, and I can take this image, I can drag it on, and I'll just put my playhead over it, and you can see that now we're only seeing a tiny part of the image, and that's because obviously it's at a much higher resolution than what we have on the timeline. But this is what we want. We want a HD timeline, and then we can zoom in and out on this image, which is excellent. So first of all, let's just zoom in a little bit on the image and see what we have. So this is 5 seconds, 10 seconds. So this, by default, this image here is 5 seconds long. So that's fine. I'm going to take the next image, and I'm just literally going to drag it onto the timeline. So it's another 5 seconds long. That's this one here. And the next one is, oh no, there it is. So you can see I have the same issue with them. They're all too big, or at least the image is bigger than the sequence. Like I said, this is to our advantage, not otherwise. So I'm also going to take my piece of music, and I'm going to put that onto my timeline here. And then I think I have my desktop set up so that you can hear the music. Hopefully you can on the playback. So this one here. So I'm just going to try and set up these images and show you how to kind of graphically set up still images in a lighting reel. So I'm going to go to effects, and when I click on effects, the interface will change a little bit, and So as you can see here, it's actually changed quite a bit. Maybe actually I don't need, I would still like to see my timeline. We'll click into graphics here and see if we can get, oh yeah, that's much better. So we're in graphics here. So we can still see our timeline. We've got our program window so we can see what's on the timeline, and then we have access here to scale and position, etc. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image here, make sure it's selected, and I'm going to change the scale of it. So I'm going to zoom out. Now if I go too far, you can see I get a black border, so I don't want that. And then I can, I want to reposition this here, so I can set its horizontal or its vertical position. So I can actually reframe this afterwards. I can place her to the left or to the right of the frame, and you know, have our eyes follow sort of the rule of thirds. So I can actually cheat and reframe this afterwards. Now the other thing I want is, this is a lighting reel, so when I press play here, what I've got is like completely still images with a musical kind of background. So it's going to trim off the front of that audio. So I want the picture to move a bit. If it's just completely still, it'll be very boring to look at. Now this particular one, I'll probably end up putting a fade in, but at the same time I'm just going to show you how I would kind of move these images ever so slightly. And this is meant to be subtle and not extreme sort of crash zooms or anything. It's meant to be nice and gentle sort of stuff. So I'm going to go to the start of this image. So again, make sure it's selected. And I'm going to keyframe. So I'm going to press this little clock here. You can see a little diamond has appeared in the, or you can see one half of a diamond has appeared in the timeline here. So I've basically told Premiere to remember this scale at this point. Then I'm going to move along until I get to the last frame, and then on this last frame I'm going to change the scale, say to 42, and you can see I've got a keyframe at the beginning and a keyframe at the end. And then what Premiere will do was what's called tweening, so it will animate in between. So that's my first little push in. I'm going to try and do the same with the next picture. So I'm going to load this up. So we're going to go back to our effects control. And so I'll go to my first frame, and you can see my playhead is here, and I'm going to just bring it out to the position I want it to be in. So I'm going to keyframe the scale of that and the position of that. Now I'm going to go all the way to the end, and then I'm going to change. So I don't have to press any of these buttons, I just need to change this. I'm going to change it from being 63 to 65. So I've zoomed in a little bit, but I also want to lower it down. Okay, so now we should be able to see that little animation. Okay, and again, it's just to make the image look better. So again, I've selected this one. We go to our effects control. We'll just frame up. So we will drop that to there, and in this one we'll do the opposite. We'll start in closer and kind of zoom out a little bit to reveal, which is normally nicer actually to reveal. So again, I'm going to turn on the clock here, turn on the keyframes, move all the way to the end, and then I'm going to make this say 57. So I've zoomed out. So now when I press play, my images are moving, but only in a very gentle way. So I'm not trying to zoom in too quickly or too suddenly for the viewer. So when you're making your lighting show reel, so you'll have video in here as well. So I would suggest to you that you probably have a section of stills or a section that is video, or alternatively maybe you've got a section that's indoor lighting or outdoor lighting or a particular style of lighting. So you kind of put your theme, your pieces together, and that if you have still images, you don't just leave them static on the timeline. So we'll just take one image here. I'm just going to throw this here at the end, and we'll just zoom out a bit on it, just so you can see how compared to the other images or the other kind of the movements that they look, it's a lot more appealing, a lot more interesting to the viewer to see that than just have something that's completely static. Okay, so that's all I wanted to cover in this short tutorial. Hopefully that makes sense to you, and if it doesn't, you can always email me and we can talk further about it. So thanks.